Sophia Keller laughed as she poured wine directly onto Marie's head in front of 12 dinner guests, her phone out recording the whole thing for Instagram while Marie's daughter sobbed in the corner. "This is your future, honey. Take notes," Sophia had sneered at the little girl, and the room exploded with cruel laughter as Marie knelt on the floor, soaking wet and shaking. But 4 years of cleaning their toilets while secretly attending law school was about to pay off in a way the Kellers couldn't possibly imagine, and the reunion invitation they just handed her would become the stage for the most devastating power reversal they'd ever witness. Before we get into how Marie pulled off the most savage comeback in history, hit that subscribe button and drop a fire in the comments if you've ever been underestimated by someone who thought they were better than you. This story is about to get good, and you don't want to miss a single second of what happens when that Rolls-Royce pulls up to their mansion. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. Marie Thompson's hands trembled as she carefully placed the crystal wine glasses on the Keller family's dining table. Her 10-year-old daughter, Grace, sat quietly in the corner of the kitchen, doing homework on a borrowed laptop. It was 9 p.m. on a Friday, past Grace's bedtime, but Marie had no one to watch her. The babysitter had fallen through, and Marie couldn't afford to miss a shift. "Mama, I'm tired," Grace whispered. "Just one more hour, baby. Then we go home. I promise." Mrs. Judith Keller's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Marie, did you forget the Bordeaux? My God, how many times do I have to tell you?" Marie rushed to the wine cellar. Her feet ached. She'd already worked a 6-hour shift at the diner before coming here. 3 jobs. 14-hour days. All to keep Grace fed and keep her mother's cancer treatments going. When she returned with the wine bottle, the Kellers and their dinner guests were already seated. 8 wealthy faces, dripping with diamonds and disdain. Finally, Luke Keller drawled, swirling his empty glass. "We were beginning to think you'd gotten lost. Should we have left breadcrumbs?" The table erupted in cruel laughter. Marie poured the wine with steady hands, her face a careful mask. She'd learned not to react. Never give them the satisfaction. But then Sophia Keller noticed Grace peeking through the kitchen doorway. "Oh my God, is that a child?" Sophia's voice dripped with theatrical disgust. "Marie, did you bring your daughter to work? That's so tacky. This isn't a daycare." Marie's stomach dropped. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Keller. My babysitter canceled, and I couldn't." "You couldn't find someone else?" Judith interrupted, setting down her fork with deliberate precision. "Marie, we pay you to be professional, not to turn our home into a homeless shelter." Grace's lip trembled. Even at 10 years old, she understood contempt. "She's very quiet, ma'am. She won't disturb anyone. She just needs to finish her homework." "Homework?" Mr. Alfred Keller scoffed from the head of the table. "Let me guess, public school? Marie, you do realize your daughter's going to end up exactly where you are, right? Cleaning other people's houses. It's called generational poverty. Maybe you should teach her useful skills, like how to properly fold a napkin." The guests laughed. One woman actually applauded. Marie's vision blurred, but she kept her voice even. "Sir, Grace is at the top of her class. She's boring," Luke yawned dramatically. "Mom, can we please eat without the help's life story? I have a tennis match in the morning." As Marie turned to leave, her foot caught on the Persian rug. The wine bottle slipped from her hands, shattering on the marble floor. Red wine splashed across the white carpet, spreading like blood. Silence. Then Judith Keller stood up slowly, her face contorted with rage. "You imbecile." She grabbed another bottle of wine from the sideboard. "Do you know what that rug costs? More than your pathetic life." Before Marie could react, Judith poured the entire bottle over Marie's head. Cold wine soaked through her hair, her uniform, dripping onto the floor. The metallic smell filled her nostrils. "There," Judith said, her voice cold. "Now you match the mess you made." Marie stood frozen, wine dripping from her chin. She heard Grace gasp from the kitchen. That sound, her daughter's sharp intake of breath, cut deeper than any insult. The dinner guests watched with eager eyes, like spectators at a Roman execution. One man actually raised his phone to record. "Please," Marie whispered, her voice cracking for the first time. "Please don't, my daughter is watching." Sophia laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, that's perfect. See, Grace? This is what happens when you don't apply yourself. This is your future, honey. Take notes." Luke joined in. Wait, I have an idea. Marie, get on your knees and clean that wine with your uniform. You're already soaked anyway. Might as well be useful." "Luke, no," one of the guests said, the only hint of human decency in the room. "That's too far." "Too far." Luke grinned. "She works for us. She should be grateful we let her bring her kid. Right, Marie? Tell everyone how grateful you are." Marie's hands shook violently. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she wouldn't let them fall. Not in front of Grace. Not in front of these monsters. She knelt down and began wiping wine from the floor with her apron, her movements mechanical. From the kitchen doorway, Grace started crying. "Mama." "Grace, baby, go back to your homework," Marie called out, her voice barely audible. But Judith wasn't done. "Actually, no. Grace, come here." "Mrs. Keller, please," Marie's voice broke. "I said come here, child." Grace walked into the dining room, tears streaming down her face. She was wearing a dress Marie had bought at a thrift store, clean but obviously secondhand, the hem poorly repaired where it had torn. Judith looked Grace up and down with exaggerated pity. "Sweetheart, I want you to understand something. Your mother? She's cleaning my floor right now because that's all she'll ever be. A cleaner. And you know what? Unless you're very lucky, that's all you'll ever be too. Do you understand?" Grace's small voice. "My mama works hard. She's smart. She's poor," Sophia interrupted. "There's a difference between working hard and being successful. Your mama is living proof of that." Alfred Keller pulled out his wallet and tossed a $20 bill on the floor near Marie. "Here. For the damages. And the entertainment." Luke laughed. "Dad, that's generous. I would have given her 5. Marie picked up the 20 with shaking hands. Not because she wanted to, but because that $20 was Grace's lunch money for next week. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. "What was that?" Alfred cupped his ear mockingly. "Didn't hear you." "Thank you, sir," Marie repeated, louder this time, while rising in her throat. "Much better. Now take your charity case, daughter, and get out. You're ruining the ambience." In the car on the way home, a beat-up 1998 Honda Civic with a cracked windshield, Grace finally spoke. "Mama, why do they treat you like that?" Marie gripped the steering wheel, wine still drying in her hair. "Baby, sometimes people who have everything need to make others feel small so they can feel big. But you're not small, Mama. You're the strongest person I know." That's when Marie's tears finally came. Silent, hot tears that she couldn't stop. Grace reached over and held her mother's hand. "When I grow up, I'm going to be a lawyer. And I'm going to make sure nobody treats people like that ever again." Marie pulled over to the side of the road and hugged her daughter tight. "Baby, I'm going to make sure you can be anything you want. I promise you. This won't be our life forever." But the truth was, Marie didn't know how to keep that promise. She was drowning. 3 jobs barely covered rent, her mother's medical bills were crushing her, and she was 2 semesters away from having to drop out of the online law program she'd hidden from everyone. That night, as Grace slept in their 1-bedroom apartment, Marie sat at the kitchen table and opened her laptop. The assignment was due at midnight, a 2,000-word essay on constitutional law and equal protection. Her hands still smelled like wine. Her uniform was ruined. She had $4 in her bank account and 12 days until rent was due. But she typed. Through tears and exhaustion, she typed. Because Judith Keller was wrong about one thing. Marie Thompson wasn't just a cleaner. She was a fighter. The Kellers never knew that after the wine incident, Marie worked harder than ever. She didn't quit. She couldn't afford to. But something had changed inside her. Every morning at 4 a.m., Marie woke up and studied before her shift at the diner. Constitutional law, criminal procedure, civil rights. While Grace slept, Marie memorized case precedents by flashlight so she wouldn't wake her daughter. At 6 a.m., she got Grace ready for school, packed her lunch, and walked her to the bus stop. Then Marie went to the diner, where she served breakfast to people who didn't know her name. At 2 p.m., she picked up Grace from school. They did homework together, Marie helping with math, Grace helping Marie practice oral arguments. At 4 p.m., Marie went to the Kellers' house. She cleaned their toilets, scrubbed their floors, served their dinner, and endured their casual cruelty. Marie, these towels aren't soft enough. Marie, you missed a spot on the mirror. Marie, can you be quieter? Your presence is distracting. Every insult became fuel. Every condescending remark was another page studied. Every time they treated her as invisible, she became more determined to make them see her. At 10 p.m., after Grace went to bed, Marie studied until 2 a.m. Then she slept for 2 hours and started again. 1 year later, Marie's mother died on a Tuesday in February. The Kellers didn't give her the day off for the funeral. Marie, I understand you're grieving, Judith said, barely looking up from her phone. But we have the Rothschild dinner party tonight. 12 guests. You can attend the funeral after your shift. The funeral was at 2 p.m. Marie's shift ended at 9 p.m. Mrs. Keller, please. It's my mother. She. And this is your job, Judith interrupted coldly. Do you want to keep it or not? Marie went to the funeral in her maid's uniform because she didn't have time to change. She stood at her mother's graveside for 15 minutes, Grace holding her hand, both of them crying. Then she drove straight back to the Kellers' mansion and served appetizers to people who didn't know her mother had just been buried. Luke Keller noticed her red eyes. Marie, are you crying? Did we run out of the good champagne? Laughter. That night, Marie made a decision. She would finish law school. She would pass the bar exam. And when she stood in that courtroom as an attorney, then as a judge, she would make sure no one ever felt as powerless as she felt in that moment. 2 years later, Marie passed the bar exam on her first attempt. Top 10% of all test takers in the state. She didn't tell the Kellers. When she got her first job as a prosecutor, she didn't tell the Kellers. When she won her first major case, putting away a white-collar criminal who'd embezzled millions from working-class families, she didn't tell the Kellers. And when the governor called her personally to offer her a position as a superior court judge, making her one of the youngest judges in state history, she didn't tell the Kellers. She just kept cleaning their toilets and biding her time. 3 weeks before the Keller family reunion, Sophia cornered Marie in the kitchen. Marie, we're having our annual family reunion at the Grandview estate. You know, the place with the marble columns? The one you could never afford to even visit? Anyway, we thought it would be fun if you came. Sort of like a mascot. Show everyone how charitable we are to employ someone like you. Marie looked up from washing dishes. Someone like me? You know what I mean, Sophia waved her hand dismissively. Poor. Uneducated. Struggling. It'll be inspiring. We can even have you serve drinks. Luke wants to take pictures for his Instagram. Helping the less fortunate, and all that. Good for his social media brand. Luke walked in, grinning. Oh perfect, you're telling her. Marie, you have to come. I'm thinking of doing a whole photo series. A day in the life of our maid. Very humanizing. My followers will eat it up. Judith entered, already planning. We'll need you there by 4 p.m. to help with setup. And Marie, please try to wear something presentable. Not that ratty uniform you always wear. Maybe we can lend you something that doesn't scream, "I shop at Goodwill." Marie dried her hands slowly. Inside, her heart was pounding. But her face remained calm. What date is the reunion? June 15th. The Saturday. You don't have plans, do you? Judith laughed. Of course you don't. You never have plans. June 15th. The exact date Marie would be sworn in as a Superior Court judge in a ceremony at the state capitol. The governor himself would be there. The press would cover it. Her face would be in every newspaper in the state. But the Kellers didn't know that. I'll be there, Marie said quietly. Wonderful. Sophia clapped her hands. Oh, this is going to be so good. Wait until our friends see you. Last time they asked if we made you up. After they left, Marie allowed herself the smallest smile. Oh, she'd be there. Just not the way they expected. The Grandview estate glittered with obscene wealth. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbows across marble floors. A string quartet played Vivaldi. Guests in tuxedos and designer gowns sipped champagne that cost more than Marie's monthly rent. The Kellers held court in the center of the grand ballroom, surrounded by admirers. Where's your little charity project? One woman asked Judith, eyes gleaming with mean curiosity. You said you were bringing your maid. She's probably lost, Luke snorted. I told her to use the service entrance, but who knows if she can even read the signs. Sophia checked her diamond watch. She's late. Typical. Poor people have no concept of punctuality. Alfred raised his champagne glass. If she doesn't show, we'll dock her pay. See if that teaches her responsibility. Oh, I hope she comes, another guest giggled. I brought my camera. This sounds delightful. Outside, a Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to the main entrance. Not the service entrance. The main entrance, reserved for the elite. The valet's jaw dropped. The car alone was worth more than his annual salary. The passenger door opened. Marie Thompson stepped out. But this wasn't the Marie they knew. This Marie wore a tailored black suit that spoke of quiet power. Her hair, once pulled back in a humble bun, now fell in elegant waves. But it wasn't the clothes that stopped people. It was what she carried. A judicial robe, black as justice, draped over her arm like a royal cape. Around her neck, the ceremonial gold chain of office. The medallion caught the light, bearing the state seal. In her hand, an engraved wooden gavel. And beside her, 12-year-old Grace, wearing a beautiful dress, holding her mother's hand with fierce pride. Marie walked through the main entrance. Not hurrying. Not nervous. Walking with the measured dignity of someone who'd earned every single step. The whispers started like wildfire. Is that Judge Thompson? The one from the swearing-in ceremony this morning? Oh my God, the governor personally appointed her. She prosecuted that massive embezzlement case. Put 5 millionaires in prison. Isn't she like 34? The youngest Superior Court judge in state history. Marie walked through the crowd. People parted for her like the Red Sea. Not because they were told to. Because her presence commanded it. She walked straight toward the Kellers. Sophia saw her first. The champagne flute slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble in a burst of crystal and golden liquid. The sound made everyone turn. Luke's face went white. Actually white. Like someone had drained all the blood from his body. Judith grabbed her husband's arm, her knuckles white. Alfred, is that No, Alfred breathed, his confident smirk sliding off his face like melting wax. That's not possible. That's not. Marie stopped 3 feet from them. The crowd had gone silent. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Keller, Marie said. Her voice was different now. Not the quiet, submissive voice they'd known. This was the voice that commanded courtrooms. Clear. Unwavering. Powerful. Luke. Sophia. Thank you so much for the invitation to your reunion. You insisted I attend, and I wouldn't dream of disappointing you. Grace squeezed her mother's hand. Marie squeezed back. I apologize for being late, Marie continued, letting each word land with precision. My swearing-in ceremony at the state capitol ran longer than expected. The governor gave quite a lengthy speech about judicial integrity and treating all people with dignity, regardless of their economic status. It was very moving. You could have heard a pin drop. Judith's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. You're... Sophia whispered. You're a judge. Superior Court, Marie confirmed. I was appointed this morning. It's been quite a day. But I made you a promise, didn't I? I said I'd be here. But you're our... Luke couldn't finish the sentence. Your maid. Marie asked, her tone gentle but firm. Yes. I was. For 4 years, I cleaned your toilets, scrubbed your floors, and served your dinners. All while earning my law degree from night school. All while raising my daughter. All while taking care of my dying mother. She paused, letting that sink in. You remember my mother, don't you, Mrs. Keller? She died 2 years ago. On a Tuesday. You wouldn't give me the day off for her funeral. You said the Rothschild dinner party was more important. So I went to my mother's burial in my maid uniform, stood at her grave for 15 minutes, and then came back to serve your guests canapés. Tears were streaming down several guests' faces now. Women in diamond necklaces were openly crying. Marie's voice remained steady. Luke, you took pictures that day for your Instagram. A day in the life of our maid. Remember? You got 50,000 likes. The caption was even the help has feelings. Very moving. Luke looked like he might vomit. And Sophia, Marie turned to her. Do you remember what you told my daughter that night you poured wine on my head? You told Grace that she'd end up just like me. That we were trapped in generational poverty. That we should just accept our place. Marie gestured to Grace, who stood tall despite her tears. Grace just got accepted to Stanford with a full academic scholarship. She's 12 years old and already taking college-level courses. But you wouldn't know that, would you? Because you never asked. Marie reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph. She held it up for everyone to see. It was the picture Luke had posted on Instagram. Marie on her knees, cleaning wine from the floor while the Kellers and their guests laughed in the background. Her face was wet, with wine or tears, you couldn't tell. This photo, Marie said, her voice harder now, has 50,000 likes. 50,000 people saw me at my lowest moment and thought it was entertaining. Inspiring, even. Look how the other half lives, they commented. This is why I work hard, they said. I became motivation for people to feel better about themselves. She looked directly at Judith. You asked me once if I was grateful. If I understood what an honor it was to work for you. So let me answer that now. The ballroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing. I am grateful, Marie said, and several people gasped. I'm grateful that you showed me exactly who you are. I'm grateful that every insult made me study harder. Every humiliation pushed me to prove you wrong. Every time you treated me as less than human, you reminded me why I needed to succeed. Not for revenge. But so that when I sit on that bench and people's futures are in my hands, I never forget what it feels like to be invisible. She turned to address the entire room. You're all very wealthy. You have beautiful homes, expensive cars, designer clothes. But I learned something in those 4 years of cleaning other people's toilets. Your money doesn't make you better than anyone. It doesn't give you the right to treat people as disposable. And it certainly doesn't define your worth. Marie put her hand on Grace's shoulder. This young lady right here has more character in her pinky finger than this entire room combined. Because she learned something you all forgot. That dignity isn't bought. It's earned through how you treat people when they can't do anything for you. One of the guests, a woman in a Dior gown, stepped forward. Judge Thompson, I was at that dinner. The night with the wine. I sat there and I laughed. I'm so ashamed. I'm so sorry. Others started speaking up. I saw your picture online. I thought it was funny. I shared it. Oh God, I shared it. Marie held up her hand. This isn't about shame. It's about change. Every person in this room employs people. Housekeepers. Nannies. Gardeners. Drivers. And I want you to ask yourself, do you know their names? Do you know if they have children? Do you know their dreams? Silence. My mother cleaned houses for 40 years, Marie continued, her voice breaking for the first time. She died with arthritic hands and an empty bank account. But she was brilliant. She spoke 3 languages. She could recite poetry from memory. She taught herself calculus from library books because she wanted to help me with homework. Grace was crying now, clutching her mother's hand. But none of her employers ever knew that. Because they never asked. She was just the help. Just Maria. Invisible Maria who scrubbed their floors and disappeared when they had guests. Marie wiped a tear from her cheek. I don't want revenge. I want recognition. I want every person who serves you coffee, parks your car, watches your children. I want you to see them. Really see them. Because that person might be the next doctor. The next lawyer. The next judge. And you'll never know if you treat them as furniture. Marie walked directly to Judith. They stood inches apart. The height difference was gone. Marie in her heels was exactly eye level with the woman who'd poured wine on her head. Mrs. Keller, do you remember what you said to me that night? You said I was living proof that hard work doesn't equal success. Do you still believe that? Judith's face crumpled. Actual tears. Perhaps the first genuine emotion she'd shown in years. No. God, no. Marie, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I am truly, truly sorry. I don't need your apology, Marie said, not unkindly. I need you to do better. You have influence. You have resources. You could lift people up instead of pushing them down. That's what I need from you. She turned to Luke. You wanted to take pictures? Take one now. Post it on your Instagram. Tell your 50,000 followers that the woman you humiliated is now a judge. Tell them that the person who cleans your house might be smarter than you. Tell them that cruelty always comes back around. Luke was openly weeping. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was raised to think. I was taught that. You were taught wrong, Marie interrupted. But you're young enough to change. The question is, will you? Grace, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Her young voice carried across the ballroom. My mama worked 3 jobs so I could go to school. She slept 2 hours a night so she could study law. She let you treat her like garbage because she needed the money to keep me fed. And you never even learned her middle name. The crowd was sobbing now. Openly, unashamedly sobbing. It's Elizabeth, Grace said. Marie Elizabeth Thompson. And she's the best person I know. And you almost broke her. Marie knelt down and hugged her daughter. In that moment, everyone in the ballroom saw not a judge and her child, but 2 survivors who'd climbed out of hell together. When Marie stood, her judicial robe caught the light. The gold chain glittered. The gavel in her hand seemed to carry the weight of justice itself. "I start presiding over cases Monday morning," Marie said. "And I promise you all this. Every person who stands before my bench will be treated with dignity. The homeless man charged with theft will get the same respect as the CEO charged with embezzlement. Because I know what it's like to be dismissed. I know what it's like to be invisible. And I will never, ever forget." She took Grace's hand. "Thank you for the invitation, Mr. and Mrs. Keller. This has been enlightening." Marie Thompson walked out of that ballroom the way she'd entered, with dignity, grace, and unshakable power. Behind her, she left a room full of people forever changed. 6 months later, the Keller family made changes. Real ones. They established a scholarship fund for children of domestic workers. They increased their staff salaries by 40%. They learned their employees' names, their stories, their dreams. It wasn't redemption. It was beginning to be accountable. Luke used his Instagram platform to advocate for workers' rights. His followers didn't like it. He lost 30,000 followers. But he kept posting. Because some things matter more than likes. Sophia started volunteering at a legal aid clinic, helping low-income families navigate the court system. It was humbling. It was hard. It was necessary. And Judith? She visited Marie's mother's grave and placed flowers there every month. She never told Marie. She just did it. The courtroom Marie's first day. Marie sat behind the bench in her judicial robe, looking out at her courtroom. Among the spectators, Grace, sitting in the front row, her Stanford acceptance letter framed at home. The first case was a single mother charged with shoplifting baby formula. "Your Honor," the prosecutor began, "the state recommends." "Before we proceed," Marie interrupted gently, "I'd like to understand the circumstances. Ma'am, would you tell me why you took the formula?" The woman, who looked exhausted and defeated, started crying. "My baby was hungry. I lost my job. I didn't know what else to do." Marie looked at the prosecutor. "I'm dismissing the charges. This woman needs resources, not punishment. I'm ordering social services to connect her with aid programs, job training, and childcare assistance." She looked at the woman. "You're not a criminal. You're a mother trying to survive. I understand. And I'm here to help, not hurt." The woman collapsed in tears. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." As she left, she whispered to Grace, "Your mama is an angel." Grace smiled. "I know." That evening, Marie's phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Judge Thompson? This is Judith Keller." Silence. "I won't take up much of your time," Judith continued, her voice shaking. "I just wanted you to know that I visited your mother's grave today. I told her I was sorry. I know she can't hear me, but I needed to say it anyway." Marie sat down slowly. "Mrs. Keller. Please, let me finish. You changed our family. Not because you wanted revenge, but because you showed us who we'd become. Luke is a different person. Sophia is finding purpose. Even Alfred. He donated his entire bonus to workers' rights organizations. We'll never undo what we did to you, but we're trying to make sure we never do it again." Marie wiped tears from her eyes. "Thank you for telling me." "No. Thank you. For not giving up. For showing us that cruelty has consequences. For being bigger than our smallness." After they hung up, Marie sat in her daughter's room and watched Grace sleep. The Stanford acceptance letter was pinned above her bed. Next to it, a photo of Marie's mother, smiling. "We made it, Mama," Marie whispered. "We actually made it." 1 year later, Marie was invited to speak at a law school graduation. She stood at the podium, looking at hundreds of young faces full of hope and ambition. I cleaned toilets while studying for the bar exam, she began, and the room went silent. I served dinner to people who poured wine on my head while I memorized constitutional law. I was invisible to everyone except my daughter and my dying mother. She paused. But here's what I learned. Your circumstances don't define you. Your bank account doesn't define you. Other people's opinions don't define you. What defines you is what you do when the world tells you that you're not enough. How you respond when people treat you as less than human. Whether you let cruelty break you, or whether you use it as fuel. She looked directly at the graduates. Some of you come from privilege. Some of you come from poverty. But in that courtroom, behind that bench, none of that matters. What matters is whether you remember that every person who stands before you is someone's child. Someone's parent. Someone who matters. Her voice grew stronger. You'll have opportunities to abuse your power. To look down on people who serve you. To treat others as invisible. And in those moments, I want you to remember me. Remember that the woman who cleaned your floor might become the judge who determines justice. That the man who parked your car might become the lawyer who changes the world. That the woman you dismissed might be the one who saves your life. Standing ovation. Thunderous. Lasting. As Marie left the stage, a young woman stopped her. Judge Thompson? I'm a scholarship student. First in my family to go to college. I work nights as a janitor to pay my bills. People look through me like I'm not there. But your story, it gives me hope. Marie took the young woman's hands. What's your name? Sophia. Sophia Martinez. Sophia, remember this moment. Remember how invisible they make you feel. Because one day, you'll have power. And you'll have a choice. Will you use that power to elevate others, or will you become what hurt you? I'll elevate others, Sophia said firmly. I promise. Then you've already won, Marie smiled. You've already broken the cycle. That night, Marie sat with Grace on their apartment balcony. They'd moved to a better place. Nothing fancy, but safe and warm. Mama, are you happy? Grace asked. Marie thought about it. I'm proud. There's a difference. What's the difference? Happy is a feeling. Pride is knowing you survived something that should have broken you, and you came out stronger. I'm proud of us, baby. We didn't just survive. We transformed. Grace leaned against her mother. The Kellers thought they broke you. They tried, Marie agreed. But you know what they forgot. What? You can't break someone who's already been through hell and chose to build heaven anyway. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set over the city. Somewhere below, someone was working 3 jobs and studying by flashlight. Somewhere, a single mother was choosing between groceries and rent. Somewhere, a person was being treated as invisible. And in her courtroom tomorrow, Judge Marie Elizabeth Thompson would see them. She would hear them. She would remember. Because she had been them. And she had never, ever forgotten. The people you dismiss today might sit in judgment of your tomorrow. Not with revenge, but with the wisdom that comes from being underestimated, and the grace that comes from rising anyway. Judge Marie Elizabeth Thompson.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as interesting and even more intriguing than you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.